going, everybody? Doing another top 10 here today. People really like the top 10 PS2 game requests that I had gotten. So I figured I'd do a top 10 Xbox now. Original Xbox. I actually do own 5 of these games, so I'll be able to show them. All those people, those pieces of my freaking eyebrow. Oh god, I'm getting annoyed now. That eyebrow is my eyebrows are kind of out of control. Sorry, I was doing this soft spoken and went into a whisper. This is my top 10 original Xbox games. This is one, unfortunately, where I completed a lot of games on the original Xbox. It was my go-to and probably overall my favorite of that generation of the Cube. PS2, Xbox, and you even say the Dreamcast was the original system of that generation. Maybe one or two could have been pushed out, but I'm pretty sure this is a pretty solid list. But number 10 here is Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. Prince of Persia has been around for a long time. When the first one came out, like on the Apple Amiga or some shit, it's been on a shit ton of fucking systems. But this one was kind of like a same thing with actually number 9. But this one, I think, was the first 3D one, I would think, right? But this game is awesome. I remember when I first played it, I was like, holy shit. Like, I remember when it came out, it reviewed very well. I didn't play it immediately when it came out. I remember, I think I got this. Definitely 007, Everything or Nothing, and I want to say Legacy of Kain Defiance. It was like, or maybe it was actually Knights of the Old Republic. But I got 3 games used. I think it was like 3 for $20 at the time, or 3 for $30 or some shit. I forget what the fuck it was. At GameStop or whatever. They might have been eBay still. I don't know. This game's awesome. You know, and at the time, and it still does look good. Very good looking game. I forget what happens. That guy comes. The bad guy, he's like a sorcerer or some shit. I don't know. Is he even? But he like destroys the city kind of and shit. And everybody turns into kind of like creatures. And or maybe it says here on there. Oh yeah, okay. The treacherous Vizier was led to unleash. Yeah, that's right. And he unleashes the prince unleashes the Sands of Time curse upon the Sultan's kingdom. So then you have the dagger, and you can do all types of cool shit. You can rewind time and stuff like that. The combat in this game is fucking amazing. You're flipping over dudes. It's just great. Obviously, it maintains like what the originals had throughout the years before this one. So you can wall run. You're grabbing onto poles. You're jumping other things. You run along curtain. You're grabbing onto curtains and all types of shit. It's really nice, and you can if you die, you can make spikes, and there'll be like obstacles in the way. You can obviously rewind and shit. And maybe if you complete combat, you might actually refill the meter. But there is the some of the enemies. Everybody's kind of been corrupted or whatever. And there's this woman as well. I forget what she does. She is there though the whole time, I think. Yeah, you can reverse, accelerate, freeze, and slow time. Like I said, it looked great. The game looked phenomenal. The voice acting was actually good in this game as well. But like I said, the combat was so cool and it just flowed so well. You know, it's kind of like I would almost say maybe the Arkham games took a little bit from this combat in a way. But it was really fucking cool. Like, it was just a really fucking cool game. It was fun. It was fairly long as well. Like I said, it's the same thing as the PS2 one. I'll remember more of some of these games than the PS2 ones, but I will not remember everything from all of them. That's number 9. Number 10. Number 9. I actually want to give an honorable mention real quick because this is in my 10 and then I moved it out. This would be 11. I played this one like in 2010. I knew about it when it came out, but I just never got around to playing it. grabbed by the Ghoulies. It was the first Rare game after Microsoft acquired them from Nintendo. It didn't get like shit on too badly, but a lot of people didn't like it. I thought it looked great. It was fun. The combat was cool. You used like the thumbsticks for the combat. A really cool game. Actually, I would check that out. Similar to almost like the Haunted Mansion game and stuff like that. But I liked it a little better. But anyway, yeah. Number 9 is another one like Prince of Persia, Ninja Gaiden. It was another one that wasn't doing anything for a while. And then boom, it comes back. It was originally just on the Xbox, and then they put out versions on like the PS3, I think. Got a version, but at the time it was exclusive. And once again, the combat in this game was sick graphically. Even still today, like this game looked fucking amazing. Your Ryu Hayabusa in this one again. I think the first mission you start off, you're kind of more like in training. And I think like that your like temple gets burned down or something. I can't remember. Like I said, the combat was great in this fucking game, and it was violent as hell, and graphically it just looked like it was just mind-blowing graphically at the time, and it still looks good. It's one of those games that still holds up, even though they kind of remastered it and redid it on the original not the original PlayStation, the PlayStation 3. But it might have popped up on some other things too. I don't know if the 360 got a version of it, or they just went straight to Ninja Gaiden 2. Because it was like Ninja Gaiden Sigma, I think they called it. Yeah, you know why? Because Ninja Gaiden 2 was exclusive to the 360 for a while, and then Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma came out, I think, on the PlayStation 3. But just a great game. Like I said, it was fun. The combat was fun, so you could collect souls. I remember there's a part where I was like harvesting souls from these little weird flying things. Or harvesting, I don't know if they're souls or whatever they were, to like level up Ryu and shit. You get different weapons throughout and stuff like that. Tough boss battles. It's a hard game. I mean, not as hard as those original fucking ones on the NES, but very hard game. Another one I don't remember a shit ton about, but I remember playing it. I think I played it originally in 2005. And I loved it. It was great. And same thing in this when you're wall running, you're doing flips and shit like that. You're doing a lot of crazy stuff as well in this game, similar to Prince of Persia. That's number 9. Number 8. I played this one on the. I completed this one on the Xbox. I think I played a little bit on the PS2 as well, but it is Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. This was made by the same people. I think it was made by the same people that made the Buffy the Vampire Slayer game that came out, which is another cool game. I never completed it on the Xbox. It was actually a really cool game. The first one was exclusive to the Xbox, and then they made a second one. I think Chaos Blades. I never played it. That was on all 3 of them, the GameCube and the PS2 as well. But this game has that same combat, really good combat. I think it might have been thumbstick oriented as well. I love Indiana Jones games, so it's a classic Indiana Jones game. You're collecting artifacts, you're going to cool locations and shit. Combat's cool as well. You got the whip, and then he has guns and shit like that as well. Like I said, it's cool the cool levels to explore and stuff like that. I don't remember the full story. I think it involves I don't know if it involved time travel or someone trying to, I don't know. I think that's what the new Indiana Jones involves. But I just remember enjoying the fucking combat, and graphically it was cool too, and I just love those games because you can explore. It's like the Uncharted as well, or the Tomb Raiders. I didn't play a lot of the original Tomb Raiders, but then when they rebooted it, and then it was more of like that survival adventure game. I like exploring for stuff and finding shit like that. It was enjoyable. I remember liking the soundtrack as well, but I do remember the combat. I remember there's a part where you're swimming away from alligators and stuff in this one thing. But I just always like those games and finding things and exploring. I always like I said, I like most Indiana Jones games. That one, the Staff of Kings is pretty cool too. I never beat it. The one I got on the Wii. And then even the Lego indie games and the one on the N64 is my favorite still. But that is number, let me get back to this. If I am on my phone. That's number 8, though. Number 7 here I have as well. And this is the one this would have been my PS2 list if I played it. on the PS2, but I didn't. I played it on the Xbox, and I pre-ordered it on the Xbox. It's Silent Hill 4: The Room. They didn't get a ton of survival horror games, but they got Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 4. They got Fatal Frame 2 and 3. They had no Resident Evils. They had a Call of Cthulhu, Dark Corners of the Earth. They had some other random ones as well, like Curse the Eye of Isis, Still Life. They were more like point and click ones. They had Dino Crisis 3 actually. They got, which was an exclusive, I think, and they had the House of the Dead 3, the light gun shooter, which you could use the controller for as well. I believe I did not play it, but I remember pre-ordering this. I remember being pissed as hell when I went to get it from GameStop because I was like, oh. I pre-ordered Silent Hill 4. I'm here to get it, and they're like, "Oh, you're not in here." Like, it took me 10 minutes, like, to be like, "Listen, no, I have the receipt that said I pre-ordered the fucking game." And they finally were like, oh, "Okay." I was getting so fucking annoyed. I'm like, "I'm not leaving here without my game." I got my game. I'm walking home, and it starts to pour. I did protect the game, obviously, but it pissed me off. But this is an awesome game. You play as Henry Townsend in this one. This one was originally. I'm pretty sure it was originally made to be not a Silent Hill game. It was made by the same people who did the first 3 Silent Hills, but then they said, "Fuck it, let's make it Silent Hill." You're not actually in Silent Hill. I think you're in the neighboring town, and you're stuck. You wake up in your apartment, and all of a sudden there's locks all over the doors. This here, and then somebody mentioned it. Comment about an Easter egg. What's like my first Easter egg I remember in video games? I honestly can't remember, but I do remember the one I remember. One of the few that I probably found is in Silent Hill Downpour. There's a part where you climb into an apartment and you see the room and the door locked up like Silent Hill 4. But you can't get out, and then there's a hole in the bathroom wall or some shit, and you crawl through and you go to like different areas. First area is like a subway, and you meet the woman. What the hell's her name? Is she on here? She is not. Her name's not on here. She's in throughout the whole game. Some of the endings depend on how, like, she's, like, holds up by the end. Because she goes through a ton of shit in this. I mean, you do, too. This one is based on Walter Sullivan, who's mentioned in 2. The serial killer. I think it's him, right? In this one, but he's a kid still. And, like, the story in this game is really good because, like, he, like, loved the room you're in was, like, where he lived. And he doesn't want to leave it because he views the room as, like, his mother's womb or some shit. It's a very typical Silent Hill, like, good story action in this one. Once again, the music's great in this one. Akira Yamaoka does all of them up until Homecoming was the last one I think he did the music for. And that was the first one that was made. Maybe Shattered Memories and the one on the PSP Origins were not made by the Team Silent who did the first 4 and are the best 4. I do like Origins, and I liked Downpour quite a bit. Shattered Memories was cool also. That was like a remake of the original, but completely kind of different and in terms of gameplay. And then I did not. Homecoming I just couldn't get into. I played it, and it was creepy, and it had the atmosphere and look down, but the combat was... They emphasized the combat in that game. The combat was never good in this series, and I was playing it and then getting pissed like every 15 minutes. I start enjoying and then get pissed, but anyway. Graphically, it's great. It has the fucked up enemies and shit. The dog's there, of course. That's in the first level. And you can see there, that's like the room. You hang out in your room in first person as well periodically, and there's a part where you're looking through a hole to the other apartment, and it's the woman's apartment, and you occasionally see her doing stuff. And there's a Robbie the Rabbit, which is in 3. He's like a mascot for the amusement park or some shit, but he's on the bed, and then you look in there another time, and he's pointing at you, and I thought that was kind of cool. But Silent Hill, it's creepy as hell. Disturbing fucking shit and images, great story. Combat, of course, is not fucking fantastic, but... And it is different because you're going through the hole in the room to different areas and shit and learning more things. But really fucking cool game. It's number 7. Number 6 is another one I played. I originally rented it on the PS2 but did not beat it. I only played a little bit of it. And then I got it on the Xbox and beat it. But this game blew my mind because it was so fucked up and violent. I remember bringing it over to my friend's house and be like, dude, you guys ever see how fucking violent and fucked up this game is? But it's Manhunt. This game, I remember in like England, people, like a defense tried to say like Manhunt made this kid kill people, and the judge is like, no, it wasn't. But this game was banned in a lot of places. It was a Rockstar game. You have Brian Cox as the fucking director. Now this game actually takes place in the GTA universe. It's in Carcer City, I believe, which is mentioned in some GTA games. I think it's like the Detroit of GTA. But you're James Earl Cash, and you're on like death row, and they're executing you, but you don't die. You wake up. I think you get lethally injected, and then the director pops in your ear, and he's now having you in his own private snuff film because everybody thinks you're dead. And then there's the gangs out to try to kill you and shit. And like he owns the police force in the city and shit. And you have Brian Cox, if you know from. He was in Troy. He was in Super Troopers. He's been in a ton of shit. I think he's in that show Succession now, or Billions, or whatever the fuck it's called. What else? He was in LIE, actually, which is about the Long Island Expressway. He was in this movie called Dog that was really good. Red. It was called Red. Not the. He's actually in one of the Red movies, if not both. The one with Bruce Willis, but this was a different one about his dog gets killed. It's actually a really good movie. These kids kill his dog. I'm pretty sure this is before John Wick, the first John Wick, but that's actually a different kind of movie though. It's more like serious and shit. It's not like he's not like a fucking I think he was in the military, but he's not like a fucking assassin, fucking wielding guns like crazy. He's been in a bunch of shit. Brian Cox, you would recognize him. He was in The Ring too, the first Ring, the English remake of the Japanese horror movie. Anyway, he's awesome to Starkweather. Like, he fucking hams it up and is enjoying himself. He has some great fucking lines. Like, look up the lines. But anyway, you're in a snuff film, so everything's filmed. Now, the point of this game, it's a stealth game. It's actually a really good stealth game. If you had the headset, you could actually, the guys in the game would hear you if you said something. They know where you are. But you got to hide in the shadows. You got to take out these guys who are trying to kill you, and you got to take them out fucking violently. There's like 3 levels of execution. The first one, you have a plastic bag. You fucking use bats, glass shards. Fuck, there's guns at points, but there's not many. Baseball bat. The one baseball bat kill, like the height, because the longer you hold the button, you get the more fucking gruesome kill. The baseball bat one, so you can look these all up on YouTube. Is even today is still, you're just like, oh my god. Like, I can understand. Now, this game probably could have got a 18 rating or whatever the hell they call it. It was fucking. But it's a good story, and it's a good survival horror game, stealth game. It's kind of survival horror. It's a good stealth game. There's a part where you're in an abandoned zoo, and they have your family tied up to poles, and every time you get spotted, they just walk right up to them point blank, blow them away. This is a game specifically where you should be 17 to be playing it, like, if not older. But it's a good game. The music's great. The atmosphere is great. The gameplay is good. The second one was alright. It takes place, you like break out of a mental institution, but it's not. The first one's just fucked. Number 5 here. This game I owned. I've talked about before. I did gameplay on it. I know I did at some point. But it's Gladius. I've talked about this game a ton. This is a turn-based. It's like a turn-based strategy game. So you're on a grid. It takes place during like the Roman times. This is number 5, by the way. This is Valens here. You can also use Ursula, who's on the back. She's like the barbarian. He's like the Roman type guy. I think it's Roman. I don't know. But the point is here, you could either start as either one of them, and then you'll eventually meet up, and you'll both be in the same party. She's with her brother. You're with your like best friend, who, spoiler alert, turns on you later on in the game. But this game, you're going around a cool-looking world map. You go to other gladiator schools. You got to recruit people. You put them into your group, and then you fight animals. You fight other people. The affinity gods are in this, is what they call them, and there's like special powers you get. And you got to do certain button presses when you're in battle to get into a certain zone and stuff to get better hits. There's light attacks, heavy attacks. There's like magic kind of induced attacks. There is like if you're up top, you'll get better kills. If you get behind people, you get better kills. Better attacks on people, more damage. There's ranged people, there's heavies, there's light units, all that kind of stuff. Now, if you can get into fights in the real game world outside of the arenas, and if your main character dies, it's game over. But if your people you recruited that you've leveled up die, they're gone forever. It kind of sucks. So you have to be smart. I forget how many people you can have in your group, but you can buy shield. You get better shields and better weapons and stuff like that. It's just a great game. The battle music in this game is so good too. But you fight across different areas and you get the different ones, and you got to get badges in each school and points. I think you don't need to fill them out completely to move on, but you do have to do like a certain amount and stuff. It's just a fucking really good fucking game. Yeah. And the combat's fun, you know. And then you got to do like the crowds will be watching you, and like you get better approval as you're like doing better or taking people out and stuff like that. Or it will go down if you lose somebody. Because in the arena, if you lose people, they're just knocked out. But if everybody gets knocked out, you lose, obviously, you gotta try again. But just an amazing fucking game. Like, absolutely play this if you're into turn-based strategy games. But they never made a second one, made by LucasArts here as well. Which is unfortunate because it was a cool game. And it reviewed well, too. Oops. Number 4 here is another one I own. I've talked about this game quite a bit, too, and it is, Dead to Rights. Your Jack Slade here. This game borrows from Max Payne quite a bit. I personally like it more than Max Payne. In terms of like gameplay, Max Payne's more of the serious game and better story. This one has a pretty good story as well, though. You're framed for someone's murder. I don't think it's your dad's. Maybe it is. They kill your dad and they put it on you. I forget. But you end up in prison at one point in this, and that's actually really cool. You gotta like get cigarettes and do stuff for people. You're in there for a little bit, but you break out. But the combat in this game is fucking amazing. Like, it has the slowdown that Max Payne had, but you can disarm guys. You have your dog Shadow when you're not in prison, and you send the dog out. He'll like disarm a guy, bring him your gun, and when you get like, I'd probably play it now, it would suck, but when you like got into it and you were like on point, you were like disarming guys, you're doing the bullet time, whatever they called it. I have a name for it in this. It doesn't. There's a lot of mini games. I forgot that as well, but and there's a shit ton of fucking enemies. The enemies keep coming in this game. It's pretty nuts. It's actually a pretty tough game. Originally it was an exclusive. There's some copies of this. My original copy had the only for Xbox, and then it came out on PS2 and Cube, but was not as good, and they added difficulties. Like, this game I don't think even had, it just had its one difficulty, and it was hard. There was no like easy, it was just one difficulty, and that was it. Couldn't change it. But the gameplay is so fucking fun. Like I said, once you get it down pat, you're fucking hammering out everything. You're doing the slowdown, taking people out, disarming someone, sending your dog out. The boss fights in this game are really cool and unique. There's one where I think I've talked about this. You're fighting a boxer in a gas chamber, and he's got the mask on. You got to knock it off his face and put it on because the gas is coming in. There's another one. This guy drinks his liquor. You have to like shoot the liquor out of his hand. I think that one's on a plane. You got to fight Pinnacle. The guy's name is Pinnacle. He's the mayor, and because there's corruption in the city, and Jack is figuring out what's going on while clearing his name. But he's huge. You have to jump on his neck and like wear him down to take him out and stuff. It's a fucking awesome game. The combat's great. If you've not played this, pick it up. It's got to be cheap. Second one's not as good. The third one that came out on PS3 and Xbox 360, Retribution, was better, but it's still not as good as this one. And they haven't gone back to it. I think it was on the Game Boy Advance as well. Just a sick fucking game. It's so good. That's 4. That was number 4. Number 3 I also own. I actually showed this in a pickup video. I did play this back in the day, but I picked it up recently again. We all know what it is. It's fucking Halo Combat Evolved. The first, and personally my favorite still. When I first got the Xbox in March of 2002, Max Payne was the first game I got. And then I got like Pirates: The Legend of Black Cat or something, which wasn't that bad. And Blood and Wind 2, and my friend had this. My friend's brother had this. And I think I forget what I let him borrow, but he's like, oh, you want to borrow Halo? It's fucking awesome. I knew of Halo, but I should have just got it originally, but when I got the Xbox, but I probably played it over the summer of 2002. And remember hearing about it and reviewed like crazy. The game's fucking amazing. It's still one of the best shooters. Graphically at the time looked great. Obviously the soundtrack is fucking amazing. But it's the Covenant you're first introduced to on the Halo ring. And you know, remember you first see the hunters, you're like, oh shit, like you gotta be smart. And it's kind of open worldish, not like the new one, Infinite. But there were big areas to explore here, so you could kind of, it's not like you weren't like straightforward, like there was hallway kind of action as well, but there's somewhere you could come out, you know, it's very open world, you can kind of explore, you weren't really finding anything, but you can kind of explore it. It's so good though, Master Chief here, it's kind of funny. It starts off on a ship, is it the Pillar of Autumn you start off on, I forget, but the Covenant attack, but there's a part where you're doing like the tutorial thing, and if you start shooting the other Marines, they'll be like, he's going nuts and shit, and they'll kill you. But the Covenant start off, they take the ship, and then I'm pretty sure you crash on the Halo ring, I forget. But just an awesome game, start to finish. Fairly long, introduces the Flood like maybe halfway through, a little before, and that was all of a sudden it became a survival horror shooter because the Flood were nuts. The Flood infect people and shit like that, and the Covenant, and there's scenes where you'll actually see the Covenant fighting the Flood, which I thought was cool. The show was not as good and should have. I hope the second season of the show just follows this storyline at least enough. God, man, they did such cool things in that show, and they fucked it up with the BS. I didn't mind his helmet being off that much. I really didn't. But he's like out of the armor like 90% of the time. It's weird. And he bangs someone at some point. I'm like, man, like, I don't know. It's fucking. I still watched all of it. I didn't hate it, but because when they got it right, I was like, oh man, when they show the Covenant in there's fight scenes, it wasn't like, it didn't look incredible because I know the budget wasn't huge, but it was still really fucking cool. I'll watch the second season. I hope they do it right. But yeah, it's fucking Halo. You know what it is. You've probably played it. It's awesome. It's still my personal favorite. I know it's not everybody's favorites, but I love it. Just top to bottom. Like, it was such an amazing shooter. Cool multiplayer as well, where you could hook up two systems. If you had two TVs, you could hook up two systems and play like through the system link and play 8 players. I didn't play a ton of multiplayer, but I did play some, and it was fun. But yeah, Halo. Right, the next two I do not own still. A lot of these games are actually backwards compatible on the Xbox One, and a lot of them are on Game Pass. But number 2 and 1, I kind of was like a little back and forth, but I know I made the right choice for one. Number 2 is Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. This is the first Elder Scrolls I played. I remember when I picked it up, I was trying to find it. It came out June of 2002. So maybe I even played a bunch of that before Halo, or maybe I did not, whatever. I remember trying to find it. I couldn't. It did. Circuit City at the time didn't have it. They were still there. Toys R Us didn't have it. The one GameStop didn't have it. Then I found it. And I think the one in the mall had it. Because it was like a GameStop and EB in the mall, and there was a GameStop across the street from the mall. And now there's none. Oh, wait, no, the GameStop's still across the street. The mall's in Sunrise Mall, Mississippi was pretty much finished. There's like 2 stores left. And some Dave & Buster's and some of the Anchor stores are still there. But that's sad, but that's for another thing, another video. I finally found it. I'm like, yeah, it looks cool. It's a kind of game I'd be into. I start playing. I was like, this game is fucking sick. And the cool thing about Morrowind compared to Skyrim and Oblivion, which I love, they have very similar game worlds. I mean, more snowy and stuff in Skyrim, but Morrowind had such a unique looking game world. You're on the island. Morrowind's like the island. I think it's the Dark Elves province, or whatever they call it. And you see some of it in the one expansion for Skyrim. But it's giant mushrooms and stuff. Really cool looking game world. In the middle of it is the mountain. I forget what the mountain's called, but that's like ashlands are in there as well. So it has a really cool look of the game world. It's very unique. This game did not have fast travel unless you went to the Silt Striders, the giant bugs in certain towns. So you were running places. And this is a pretty big open world. I don't think it was as big as Skyrim, but Oblivion might have been the smallest of the 3. I'm not sure, though. And you had to really figure out things with the gameplay in terms of missions. You had to like read the notes and stuff and go to places, but it was really fucking cool. It was all this stuff was there from the other ones that, and I'm sure maybe the 2 before I never played them. But it was so great, and it had the classic tunes and shit. It didn't have as much music as you would like. They improved upon that later on. But it just had such a cool look, and the combat was all right, but there was a lot going on, and you could obviously choose what kind of what your kind of profession or whatever is like the other ones as well, and kind of what your guy looks like or your girl looks like as well. But you start off as like a prisoner on a boat, and then you end up there. Maybe you're not a prisoner, but you're just on this boat and you're trying to run from something. I can't remember fully, but you have to take out the guy who like has unleashed the mountain. I forget what the mountain's called and what the guy's name is. You fight him in there, I think, because at the end you have to like go into the deep of the Ashlands to the mountain, the volcano thing and stuff. But really phenomenal fucking game. Morrowind's great. I might actually prefer it to the other two. I need to kind of play it again, but I love them all. The three that I played, I love. Anyway, yeah, so that's Morrowind. Another one you know of, and you're gonna know this one too. Number one. It's the First Knights of the Old Republic. This game is so fucking cool. I don't know. I think they're making a Star Wars that takes place further back, and we're not gonna have the same fucking characters we always have. But this game was, I think, this one takes place like 4,000 years before the prequels or some shit. But it's so fucking cool. It starts. Sith are everywhere. I'm pretty sure. Is this the one where you actually are Darth Revan, but you and the other guy are the Jedis? I think you're fighting the Mandalorians actually in this one, but you win and you go like to the further outer rim, and you get like corrupted or some shit, but you wake up and you have amnesia, but you're a Force user, and I think you can either go either way. But I'm pretty sure you are Revan in this one, right? I could be wrong. Bastille is in this one. I forget the other guy. Some of these people pop up in the second one as well. The Sith Lords are also another good game. But anyway, I can't remember everything of it. But the combat's so cool. It's made by BioWare. And the combat's so cool. You go to different fucking planets. And it's the combat. It's like turn-based, but you can choose different things to do. So you're kind of like moving around this little, when you're little battle fucking mode or whatever, you're moving around. And you're doing different stuff. Like I said, whatever you do and don't do, good or bad, you'll end up being a Sith or a Jedi by the end of it. Is it Darth Bane you fight in this one? Who was your friend? Or is he in the second one? Like I said, I can't remember some of it. I'm pretty sure you go to Kashyyyk, you go to Tatooine, Dantooine. I think you're on Coruscant, or maybe a place similar to it. But it's just so cool and exploring, and you're finding loot everywhere and stuff like that. There goes a loud truck. You're finding loot everywhere and shit like that. At the time, it looked very good. It still looks good, but it was so addictive. The gameplay was so addictive. And you have your ship that you have eventually. One guy flies it. He's in the second as well. I forget his name. But you can do stuff in your ship. You can upgrade stuff. You can make weapons. I think you can build lightsabers too. You start out without lightsabers. You have like regular swords. You get the crystals for the lightsabers and stuff like that. And pretty sure you can build stuff, upgrade stuff. You're finding stuff everywhere. You can talk with the other characters a lot. I forget everybody who's in your party. You end up maybe like 8 or 9 people. Something like that overall. That older woman, I think, is in the second one. Bastille is the one who's in the first one. That's the name I remember. But there's a bunch of other people as well. I think there's a robot you can use. A couple robots, actually, I think. I don't know. I can't remember fully of it, but I just remember it was fucking awesome. I was playing the shit out of this fucking game. It was so fun. There's a bunch of different enemies and stuff like that. It's so good. And then you get the music there. It's great. I know all the voices were well done. A lot of exploration when you went to these different planets, and there was all types of different stuff to do on them. But yeah, Knights of the Old Republic's amazing. Obviously, play it if you haven't. The second one, the Sith Lords, is really good too. I think they're remaking the first one, right? That should be cool. But anyway, yeah, that's number 1. And that's my top 10 original Xbox games. Hell of a system, the Xbox. I mean, Knights of the Old Republic and Morrowind, I believe, were both on the PC, and so was Halo, but there's some... Ninja Gaiden was an exclusive. Some of these obviously were available on other systems as well. I don't count like the PC. If it's on the PC and the Xbox, I still count it as exclusive because I'm counting like the consoles, and the PC is like a whole different ball game. Even back then, graphically, the PC looked better and stuff. But not everybody had those high-end PCs, to play some of these games. But anyway, yeah, that's my top 10 original Xbox games. Thanks for checking this out.